So now we will continue with our PhD talks. And the first one I want to ask on stage is Diego Morales. And he will talk about systems that care about what we care about, companies and the value alignment challenge. Please give him a big applause.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. It's great and exciting to be here. And please allow me to begin with a very short story. A long, long time ago, a very powerful sorcerer inhabited these lands. And with this sorcerer, there lived a young apprentice who was in charge of fulfilling a series of tasks for his master. Every day, the young apprentice had to write letters, he had to deliver potions, and he had to fetch water for his master. And every night, exhausted, he contemplated ways in which he could fulfill his tasks in a better and less demanding way in terms of time and energy. So it happens that one day, the young apprentice came into the possession of some knowledge and skills of the sorcerer, and he used this knowledge and skills to solve his problems. In fact, with this knowledge and skills, he created an assistant whom, endowed with agency, helped him in the fulfillment of his tasks. At the beginning, everything went very well. The assistant fulfilled his task in a quite efficient manner, and the young apprentice was beaming. However, as letters began to be written with nonsensical text, as potions began to being delivered at very dangerous speeds, and as the water being collected became overflowing from the basins, the young apprentice concluded that maybe his assistant was too good in fulfilling the tasks that had been designated and providing with goals to the AI systems that surround us. AI systems have had impressive advancements over the recent years, and their penetration into our daily and professional lives is also quite impressive. However, the use of these systems have sparked concerns for their use, as these systems might select and prioritize actions and decisions that do not necessarily align with what we want or what we care about. In this context, the research program of value alignment has been put forward as a solution to mitigate this risk. And in value alignment, what we are trying to do is to come up with methods and conceptual frameworks to try to understand how this alignment could be, first of all, possible, and then implemented in the best possible way. My PhD project goes into the heart of the question of conditions of possibility. How can value alignment be possible at all, and what requirements must be met by artificial agents in order to engage in alignment in the first place? And my contention is that the cognitive capacity of metacognition is key. In human beings, metacognition is a complex and wonderful capability that allows us to identify a process, for example, our decision-making process, identify the elements and parameters and criterions that we use to make decisions. Then it allows us to judge what has been identified, and in that judgment we can compare and contrast our set of parameters with other sets, and finally conclude that, for example, our initial process needs refinement or fine-tuning. In delving into the metacognitive capacity, we are doing a complex research that entangles questions of different natures, questions about cognitive modeling, about the suitability of human and non-human animal cases as models for AI. Also, as Professor Wynan was saying before, the sort of language that we use to conceptualize this capability, as metacognition is a concept that comes from a different discipline, and of course, the societal impact of having AI systems with metacognition amongst us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the audience? The audience is now afraid to ask questions. No, there is a question. This side, please.
Hi, thanks for the talk. What do you think it takes to implement this sort of metacognition you're talking about?
Ooh, the golden question. Well, first of all, it requires clarity on our part of what metacognition is. Because metacognition, first and foremost, is already a controversial notion in cognitive science, and you will see rival theories trying to explain what it is, what sort of properties does it have, and that reflects on how people in AI can get inspired by those theories to generate models, and therefore determine what sort of properties must be imitated in order to obtain metacognition. At the very basic level, what it's clear is that we need some sort of two-tier system in which one system is looking at the other system, and we need some sort of self-evaluative capacity. Only representing the first-order process is not enough, because metacognition, at least in cognitive science, has this evaluative component. We represent something in order to judge that something. So the key challenge here is to first get our act straight regarding what we understand by metacognition, and then try to implement in an operational way this evaluative capacity.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now continue with the next PhD talk from Maryam Azani, and she will be talking about human decision-making in production planning system. Maryam, please.
Thank you. Okay. Perfect. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm going to tell you a story of Robert. And you may wonder who this Robert guy is. Well, bear with me for 6-7 minutes and I will tell you all I know about him. Robert is a production planner at 2 Chairs company. And his task is simple. He needs to produce 2 chairs, the green one and the brown one. The task looks simple, right? But he thinks that his job is challenging, and for this he uses a decision support system. Obviously, not always Robert and the decision support system arrive at the similar solution. For instance, in this case, you see that the system suggests Robert to produce 6 chairs in total, whereas he thinks that 6 is too little considering all the uncertainty in the environment. Therefore, he asks the supplier to provide him for a component for producing 8 chairs. But he realized from the supplier that this is not possible, so he only gets wheels for producing 6 chairs in total. And he decides to allocate these wheels equally to different products that he wants to produce. So he sent all the components to the internal department for assembly. But again, he realized that due to quality issues, things went wrong, and he ended up with having 3 green chairs and 2 brown ones. And obviously, at the end of the day, the customer wants something different. So now it starts to make sense why Robert thinks his job is challenging, right? But the decision support system that Robert used is an invisible one. In fact, it generates wrong solutions. For instance, Robert sees that the forecast of February is 4 chairs in total, 2 of each color. He also sees that available material that he has is only sufficient to produce 2 chairs in total, whereas the system is still recommending him to produce 4. Robert knows that there's a better system out there, a new system that can help him intervene without correcting for all the inefficiencies of the system or invisibilities, and a system that helps Robert incorporate his 25 years of work experience into it. But he's too hesitant to accept this new system. Perhaps this system is too complex for him to accept. Or maybe he's overconfident of his 25 years of work experience. Or that he's afraid that this new system will replace him at some point in time. Well, in our first study, we looked into this question. We looked into how can we motivate Robert to accept this new system. And we realized that there are 2 phases for Robert in his interaction journey with the system. The acceptance phase, which is the go, no-go decision for Robert to decide if he wants to use this new system or not. And in this phase, simplicity of the system is crucial for Robert. And the continued use phase. In fact, after he accepts using this system, the continued use phase lets Robert decide how much he wants to intervene in this new system. And in this phase, the important characteristic is the usefulness of the system, or the functionalities that it has. So usefulness and simplicity sound high level, right? And I agree with you. So let me give you some details on that. For the simplicity, it's important for designers or people who are into designing algorithms even, to focus on the interface and data. In fact, it's important to consider how to make the system simple for Robert to accept it in the initial phase before he can continue using it. However, when we move to the continued use phase, what becomes important is the algorithm of the system or the functionalities that it has. But then the question arises, does this end here? Because at the end of the day, what is important is performance. And performance of Robert, we do not know if it's better if he used this new system or still better with the old system. So we did a pilot session with our collaborating companies' planners, and we realized that Robert and his colleagues perform a lot faster when they use this new system. And this makes sense, right? Because they don't need to make all the manual corrections for invisibilities or so. However, they still perform better when they use the old system. And let me give you some clarity on this, because this might sound complicated. Imagine that the old system has a performance of 5, and Robert can add value of 7 to it. So in total, they arrive at 12. However, the new system has a performance of 9, and Robert can add value of 1 to it. So 10, in the end, is smaller than 12. Robert is still performing better than he used the old system. So our story doesn't end here. We are doing online experiments with planners at the companies and also students. If these type of questions are interesting to you, please contact me or find me at lunch, and we can talk. We're always open for collaborations. Thank you for your attention. This was the story of Robert so far.
Thank you very much, Maryam. Thank you. So who has a question for Maryam about this interesting story about Robert and working with the new system? Any questions? Well, maybe you can tell me something more about this practical relevance of this, of Robert understanding this new system and collaborating with it. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you. In fact, what is important is that in industry we see a lot of implementation efforts, and these implementation efforts do not always succeed. There are a lot of costs associated with that, a lot of effort also. And what is important for us is to understand how to design these systems in a way that these implementation efforts become more successful. And we do that by incorporating human intelligence, human capabilities, their biases and heuristics into the design of the system. So hopefully at the end of the day, we can provide systems that are good for humans, acceptable for them, and our implementation efforts will be success.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Maryam,
Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to introduce you now to another PhD speaker. And his name is Kees Maton, and he will be talking about how do employees experience their collaboration with AI in decision making. Kees Maton, please. Thank you.
So, thank you for the nice introduction. So, my name is Kees, as already said, and I'm going to talk about how employees actually experience collaborating with AI in decision making, but also why their experiences matter for performance. So, organizations are increasingly considering or actually adopting AI systems to improve organizational decision making. More attention has been gone to the technological capabilities of this system instead of to the human and how they experience collaborating with it, as it can also contribute to performance. So, of course, the AI system has certain strengths, such as computational and processing power, that allows it to make more rational decisions. However, due to their reliance on historical data, they are typically unable to anticipate on future unforeseen events in their assessments. As such, it needs a human to actually critically monitor this system, to intervene when needed, to improve the decisions that the system cannot anticipate on. Although this is a kind of ideal scenario, people tend to either over or under rely on system suggestions, meaning that if a person has a certain time pressure in making its decisions, it all too often accepts recommendations that are in fact incorrect. Or it can also be the other way around, as Maryam just said. People might be hesitant or resistant to using this system and therefore reject AI advices that are in fact correct. This leads to a suboptimal use of strength and hence performance, causing costly AI initiatives to not achieve the desired results. So, what does actually cause an employee to perform behaviors that contribute to successful human-AI collaboration? Their attitudes towards these processes. Attitudes are evaluations of processes that strongly predict behavior, such as a willingness to engage in interactions with technology, and consist of two types. Instrumental attitudes that relate to cognitive evaluations associated with the outcomes of the process itself, such as that a person that doesn't see the added value of a system, doesn't see the added value of critically monitoring a system, the person may not engage in this behavior because it does not improve its performance. On the other hand, we have experiential attitudes, and experiential attitudes are more effective evaluations that relate to the subjective experience of a user when interacting with a system. So, for example, if a person may feel that it's really interesting to interact with the AI system to make decisions at work, and they also feel important in this process and in control, they will be more motivated to engage in these behaviors. However, experiential attitudes are often neglected in research surrounding technology usage, but we deem them especially important in our specific context because they can facilitate the flow, cognitive absorption, and engagement, which may enhance a person's involvement with the AI system. And as such, the person may really want to get to the bottom of why the AI is suggesting this or that, and as such, it may know when to and not to intervene in the decision-making of the system. So, now that we know that experiences matter, what actually shapes employee experiences when collaborating with AI systems at work? We identify 4 elements that may shape a user's experience in a work setting. So first of all, the AI system itself, the methods it utilizes, how explainable that method is, also how accurate the predictions are, and those kind of things. But also individual characteristics, such as a person's educational level, AI literacy to understand how the AI system works and how it can contribute. Also their personal innovativeness or openness to experience, to try new things. And also task characteristics, such as how the process is designed in terms of the divisions of tasks, and how much agency is ascribed to the AI system from the human may impact how a person experiences this process, how motivated the person is. And lastly, also organizational features, such as their work practices and so on, may impact how people experience their work. So in turn, more favorable attitudes may relate to decreased stress, for example, enhanced motivation, and also enhanced performance. To validate these assumptions, we performed semi-structured interviews with 17 employees from 3 multinational organizations that collaborate with AI tools that either highlight missing information in orders or that provided quantitative recommendations for decision-making in sales forecasting. We asked them how they experienced AI and what were the most important factors for them to experience this more positively. So from the interviews, we found that experiences actually did matter, well, according to the interviewees, because they related to the motivation to utilize these tools in certain ways and to engage in behaviors that are associated with higher performance. We also found that the 4 elements also shape these experiences, such as a response time and constantly switching between different softwares caused frustration because it distracted them from achieving their goals. Also, a person's objective experience to work in a digitalized system, and also their AI literacy made them feel more comfortable to interact with these systems. Keeping the final decision-making authority so that the employee has the right to override the AI system at the last phase of decision-making, and having a clear outcome, as well as receiving feedback from internal stakeholders and customers was really important for them in order to have a tangible outcome of their work. And lastly, also managerial pressure to use an AI that was not performing as well was perceived as very frustrating, and hence, on the other side, involving the employee in the designing of the system and also the processes made them cause feelings of ownership and led to increased feelings of control too. So, some final takeaways. We recommend to design processes to enhance more favorable experiences through interactive and integrated, developing interactive and integrated systems with high response time so that people can really interact, and also logging system adjustments so that people can see what AI recommendation has been touched and which has not been touched. Develop use case specific training so that people can really get acquainted with the process, how the system responds to them, and so on. And also design processes in which this employee has a tangible outcome and maintains a certain level of agency. Also involve users in the development of these tools and these processes. And also develop AI as a sort of resource instead of increasing the work demands for them, make them really stressed by giving them other tasks, because we see AI as an automation instead of a collaboration, which if you give them the time to actually, involve with the system, then you will achieve the highest results, is what we found from a worker point of view. So of course, these interviews are not really generalizable because we only performed a couple. We cannot imply causation, so we aim to now develop a measure in a survey that can assess how employees experience it and distribute this among our collaborating organizations to assess user experiences and see how they relate to actual behaviors in the system, such as making adjustments, going up, going down, and how this impacts performance. So if you're interested or have questions, I would love to meet you during lunch, or you can also send me an email. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kees. Kees already has invited you to ask him questions during lunch or by email. Is there anybody that would like to ask a question to Kees right now? Yes, I see one question.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to ask a question to Kees and the previous speaker. I think these two topics are related. So the performance that was talked about in the previous talk has also to be measured by Kees' system. So how do these things come together?
Well, indeed, Maryam also explained a couple of things of resistance, of applying it to their work, hesitation to apply it to their work. I believe Maryam is also a little bit more into bias that people may develop. I think she's more into researching that people have certain experience and therefore, trust their own intuition more than those of these systems. Whereas for my research, it's more about designing engaging processes, or at least getting insights on how to engage employees more to really be absorbed in collaborating with the AI system. So they come together in well, in their usage and maybe a resistance to use it. And from my point of view, it's more of the engagement of the employee, and in Maryam, it's more how certain characteristics relate to bias, right? So, yeah, I think that's a good summary.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kees. Okay, thank you.